The story begins with a young boy, known in the village as a genius. That day, he has just won first place in a math competition, and his proud sister announces the news to everyone, and the villagers cheer for him as if he were their own son. Later, the siblings return home. To get home, they must walk a long and dangerous path along the railroad tracks as there is no train station in their area. Each time a train thunders past, they have to cling to the narrow walkway at the side, their hearts pounding as the ground shakes beneath their feet. For a moment, it feels as though their lives hang by a thread. Today marks Jun Kyung's first day of high school. In the quiet of the early morning, he sits at a small desk, carefully writing a letter to the president. His words are simple but heavy, carrying the struggles of his village. It is not his first time, this is already the 54th letter he has written. Yet, not a single reply has come. Then he and his older sister, Bo Kyung, begin their long journey. The same path they always take, the endless railroad. To reach the city's train station, they must cross 3 dark tunnels and 3 high bridges. Before stepping into each tunnel, Jun Kyung crouches low, pressing his ear against the rail to listen for vibrations. It is the only way to sense whether a train is coming. They can predict the timing of the passenger trains. But for the freight trains, they come without warning. Many lives have already been lost along these tracks. That is why Jun Kyung writes his letters, again and again, begging for a station to be built. Not just for himself, but for the safety of everyone who walks this dangerous path. Their father, Tae-yoon, works as a train conductor. Ironically, it is his trains that thunder past the very tracks his children must risk their lives to walk. When the siblings finally reach the station, they spot him in the driver's seat. But Jun Kyung does not greet him. He walks straight into the cabin in silence. The brief moment says enough. The distance between father and son runs deeper than words. By the time Jun Kyung arrives at school, 2 hours have already passed. He slips into the grounds late, just as the morning assembly is ending. Whispers follow him. Students glance at him curiously, this boy from the village, rough around the edges, not used to the city's ways. Meanwhile, far from the school, a meeting is held at the train office. Officials shake their heads, saying it is impossible to build another station. The existing ones already struggle with low passenger numbers. Instead, they insist that it is fortunate if they are even able to keep Sungbu Station, which is the next nearest stop. Tae-yoon is present in the room, but he has no voice there. He is only a conductor, powerless to change decisions made above him. When Jun Kyung hears of this, frustration boils inside him. His letters, his pleas, they all feel like they are being thrown into an empty void. Still, life in the village continues. The next day, a neighbor asks him for a favor, to take her child to the daycare bus since he is already heading to the city. He agrees, but it costs him more time. By the time he finally reaches school, only 5 minutes remain for his exam. Yet for Jun Kyung, 5 minutes is enough. His mind works faster than anyone else's. He doesn't even need to finish reading the questions before the answers flow onto his paper. The teacher watches in astonishment. And in that same classroom, one pair of eyes lingers longer than the rest. The prettiest girl in class, Rahi, has noticed him. After class, Jun Kyung quietly makes his way to the library. But as he parks himself at a nearby seat, he notices Rahi following him. She suddenly blurts out, almost playfully, that he must be interested in her. Jun Kyung freezes, taken aback by her boldness. To him, the thought is absurd. Without a word, he turns away and leaves while Rahi watches him go with a faint smile that suggests she isn't discouraged at all. Back at home, his sister Bo Kyung brings up their father's birthday. She suggests buying a small gift, or at least writing a card together. But Jun Kyung shakes his head coldly, shutting down the idea before it can grow. The wound between father and son is still too deep. The next day, on the way to school, Rahi notices Jun Kyung slipping an envelope inside the mailbox. Her eyes narrow with curiosity. A boy like him writing letters? She wonders if he might secretly have a girlfriend. Her curiosity grows until she cannot resist. Later, she rummages through his school bag and finds another envelope, carefully addressed to the president. Without hesitation, she unfolds it and begins to read. Just then, Jun Kyung walks in. His eyes fall on her, the letter in her hands, and a flash of annoyance across his face. That evening, when Jun Kyung returns home, he finds his father waiting by the gate. The two of them sit down for dinner, but the air is heavy with unspoken words. Finally, his father breaks the silence, his tone sharp with frustration. He scolds Jun Kyung for being so stubborn, for wasting his time on letters that will never be read. He tells him to stop trying, that the president will never listen. The next morning, Rahi spots him cycling to school and drives beside him to talk to him. She apologizes for reading his letter. Then, with surprising honesty, she tells him the truth. His letters are full of spelling mistakes, too clumsy to move anyone's heart. they lack sincerity. If he truly wants to reach the president, he will need help. Rahi offers her hand, explaining that her father is a congressman, perhaps she can guide him. After school, Rahi begins coaching Jun Kyung in spelling. Numbers come to him effortlessly, but when it comes to words, he struggles. She laughs at his mistakes, but not unkindly, guiding him patiently as he frowns in frustration. To her, it is not just about the lessons, it is about spending time together. She drags him to small food stalls to eat rice cakes, takes him to the riverbank where they sit sketching side by side. Jun Kyung doesn't understand the purpose of these outings, but he goes along quietly, letting her lead the way. Later, she helps him rewrite his letter, polishing his rough words until they sound clear and professional. Together, they send it off with a flicker of hope. When she shyly asks him on a date, Jun Kyung shakes his head, saying he has to help the villagers cross the dangerous railroad. Rahi frowns at his answer, then tells him bluntly, if he really wants to help, he should think of a way that doesn't depend on him alone. Maybe something like a signal. Her words stay with him. That evening, Jun Kyung works tirelessly, building a signal device that detects the vibrations of approaching trains. When he demonstrates it to the villagers, they watch in awe. At school the next day, his teacher notices his talent and hands him a stack of thick assessment books. Jun Kyung has already finished every book in the library, so the teacher challenges him with more. When his sister catches him studying hard, she tells him that it is probably due to a friend he met in school. She teases that maybe he should invite his friend over someday. Her voice carries a knowing tone, as if she has already guessed the truth, that her brother might finally have a girlfriend. Soon, Jun Kyung and Rahi go on an actual date. By now, he has grown used to the things she enjoys, following her rhythm more easily. Later, she suddenly suggests that he should move to Seoul. Life would be easier there. But Jun Kyung shakes his head firmly. He doesn't want to abandon his village. Understanding his resolve, Rahi thinks of another idea. She tells him he should take part in the upcoming national math competition as the winner will win an award presented by the president himself. This could be his chance to speak directly to the president. Jun Kyung competes and, as expected, he wins with ease, only to learn that the president will not be the one handing the award but another government official. His hope, once so close, slips away again. Disappointed by another failed attempt, Rahi suddenly suggests they go meet the president themselves. With a spark of determination, they set off together. But on the way, things take an unexpected turn. The ride is rough, and he ends up vomiting before even leaving the area. Their plan collapses right there, ending in quiet failure. Later, they find themselves at Rahi's house. Compared to his own modest home, hers feels like a different world, spacious and polished. She casually brings out snacks, then points him toward her parents' room, suggesting they watch a movie together. He hesitates, already conscious of stepping into a space that isn't his. The moment grows even more awkward when he realizes the movie isn't what he expected, it's an adult film. His face burns, his hands fumble, but neither of them moves to stop it. Instead, caught between nervous laughter and unspoken feelings, they lean closer. Their hearts race, and in that reckless moment of youth, they are about to kiss. But just as their emotions flare, the tape jams and the screen cuts to static. They scramble to fix it, their hands clumsy and shaking. And just then, Rahi's mother returns. Luckily she doesn't notice, only telling him gently to stay for dinner. But nerves consume him, and he quickly makes an excuse to leave. The next morning, Rahi is nowhere to be found at school. Jun Kyung feels the absence immediately, worry gnawing at him. Before long, he's called to the principal's office. There, Rahi sits beside her father, the imposing congressman. The man calmly explains Rahi will be moving to Seoul after the semester ends. But Jun Kyung, guilt-stricken from yesterday's incident, hears only accusation in his words. In desperation, he drops to his knees and begins to beg, stumbling through an explanation that only makes things worse. His panic grows, until finally the truth comes out, the congressman never knew of their kiss. He only wanted to sponsor Jun Kyung to a prestigious science school in Seoul so that he can accompany Rahi. Relieved yet shaken, Jun Kyung returns home to share the news with his sister. She smiles softly and tells him he should go, that he deserves this chance. That evening, he seeks out his father, hoping to confide in him. But the moment slips away. His father, already late, rushes past to drive the train. Once again, Jun Kyung is left with his thoughts, carrying his worries alone. But on his way back, Jun Kyung sees another accident along the railroad. His heart drops. He runs, his legs pounding against the dirt path, fear already clawing at him. When he arrives, the scene is chaos, villagers gathered, cries in the air, and a broken signal lying twisted and useless. The signal he had built with so much hope had not endured. The stormy weather had weakened it, and now it had failed. A train has collided with the villagers and among the casualties lies a woman, with her young daughter nearby. The image cuts through him like a blade, dragging him back into a memory he's tried so hard to bury. 6 years ago. A younger Jun Kyung walking home with his sister. Then, in an instant, while they were trying to avoid the passing train, the wind carried the trophy from his grasp. Knowing how much Jun Kyung treasured the trophy, his sister jumped forward to save it and fell into the river. And in a single heartbeat, she was gone. From that day forward, Jun Kyung carried the unbearable weight of blame. He convinced himself it was his fault, that his foolish desire to save a trophy had cost his sister her life. The trauma rooted itself deep within him, warping the way he saw the world. In his grief, he clung to her so tightly that he could no longer separate memory from reality. To him, she never left. He imagined her still beside him, speaking to him, laughing with him, eating with him. Later, his father urged him to leave the tiny house, to move somewhere safer, away from the dangerous tracks and painful reminders. But Jun Kyung refused. That house wasn't just wood and walls, it was the last place his sister had lived. Every corner, every creak in the floor held pieces of her. He couldn't abandon it. And so, he poured himself into one mission, ensuring that a train station is built. But standing before the wreckage now, with another life lost, the guilt crashes back in, heavier than ever. Later, Rahi tries desperately to reach Jun Kyung, but he doesn't answer. Her heart aches with worry, but there is no time to linger, Seoul is waiting, and she must leave. Months pass, and life goes on. Then, one day, a call finally comes. The president has given permission for the railroad, but there is no budget, and the project ranks far below the other major constructions. Hearing this, most would have given up. But not Jun Kyung. He suggests building the station themselves. At first, the villagers and workers look at him as if he's joking. But day after day, he works tirelessly, hammering and digging. Slowly, their doubt turns into admiration. Inspired by his determination, the villagers begin to join in. Together, they dig, lift, and build, piece by piece, fueled by hope. When the station finally takes shape, they decide to name it Yangwon Station, a symbol of their shared effort and dreams. The villagers celebrate, proud of what they've achieved together. Even the government takes notice and Jun Kyung gets a visit from the PR department, eager to share his story of perseverance and determination. Back at school, Jun Kyung meets his teacher, who shares news of an upcoming exam that could win him a scholarship to study in America, at NASA itself, which is his lifelong dream. His teacher's eyes hold quiet pride. "You have the potential," he says, urging Jun Kyung to take the chance. Returning home that evening, Jun Kyung finds a small package, a voice recorder from Rahi. Her voice fills the room, soft and familiar, carrying memories of laughter, shared secrets, and quiet moments. She asks him to send a message back. He tries, fumbling over words again and again, feeling awkward and unsure. Finally, he decides to write her a letter, but as he finishes, he realizes there is no return address. The next day, he returns home to an unexpected sight. Rahi stands at his doorstep, smiling, holding a small cake. It's Jun Kyung's birthday. Jun Kyung invites her in for dinner, and for the first time in months, the house feels warm with laughter and conversation. He carefully prepares a meal, simple yet comforting. As they eat, Rahi opens up about a new opportunity, studying in the USA. But when she looks at him, she sees the hesitation that hasn't left him. Gently, he declines, his heart rooted in the countryside, in the station, in the life he has built here. Later, as he walks her back through the quiet streets, Rahi suddenly asks, "Why didn't you write back to me?" He hesitates, then explains that he didn't have her address. Without a word, she scribbles down her number and hands it to him. Then, almost instinctively, she slips her hand into his. For a moment, time seems to pause. Years may have passed, but the familiarity remains unchanged. At home, Bo Kyung sits beside him, speaking softly but firmly. She encourages him to take the chance abroad, to not let fear hold him back. Her voice trembles slightly as she admits that she doesn't know how much longer she can stay by his side. There are days when she wants to leave, to avoid holding him back, yet she also longs to wait for the day when he is ready to move forward, to embrace the world and live happily. Jun Kyung listens, torn. He knows that one day he will have to let go, yet the ache of missing his sister keeps him rooted, unable to take that step. The next day, the villagers gather in excitement. The documentary about their hard work and Yangwon Station is airing, and they hope the train will stop for them, a reward for their efforts. But the train rushes by, and to Jun Kyung's horror, it's his father at the controls. The villagers' faces fall, disappointed. Later, his father simply explains, "I was only following the rules. The government never gave the green light for the train to stop at Yangwon Station." Jun Kyung's shoulders slump, the weight of failure presses down, and for the first time in months, he feels like giving up. But then, a familiar voice cuts through the despair. His sister. She nags at him, reminds him not to give up so easily. When Jun Kyung's father learns about the write-up, fury overtakes him. The report claims that Jun Kyung was the cause of his wife and daughter's deaths. But the truth is different. His wife had died during childbirth, unable to reach the hospital in time, and his daughter had fallen from the bridge to avoid an oncoming train. None of it was Jun Kyung's fault. The blame lay with the train that never stopped at their village. He calls the journalist, demanding that the articles be retracted. But the journalist calmly reminds him, these were Jun Kyung's own words. The truth stings deeper. Jun Kyung had built the station not just for the villagers, but in search of his father's recognition. He wanted forgiveness, longing for praise for the hard work he'd poured into the railroad, thinking his mistakes had caused tragedy. But every time he saw his father, all he felt was resentment. Slowly, he began to avoid him, carrying the weight of guilt alone. Realization strikes Jun Kyung's father like a lightning bolt. He had neglected his son, failed to see the pain he carried, and left him to suffer in silence. Then his son's teacher arrives, urging him to let Jun Kyung take the exam in Seoul. A scholarship to study at NASA awaits. The teacher sees the potential his father cannot yet grasp. His father hesitates, doubt shadowing his mind, but then, he makes a decision. He will stop at Yangwon Station. Against protocol, against the rules, against every warning from his colleagues, he chooses to do what he has never done, show his son he is proud. Rushing home, he finds Jun Kyung asleep. He shakes him awake. The train is waiting at Yangwon Station. We can still make it. Tears fill Jun Kyung's eyes, relief, joy, and a deep sense of validation all mingling at once. Without a second thought, they race to the station together. Later, Jun Kyung's father offers to drive him to the university, wanting to do his part as a father. It should have been a simple trip, but it turns into a comedy of errors. His father has never been there before, and neither of them knows the way. Jun Kyung pulls out a map, trying to figure out the route. They argue lightly, nerves mixed with care, until finally, they arrive at the college. But the gates are already closed, the exams have started. Not wanting to disappoint his son, Taeyun doesn't hesitate. He pushes the gates open and tells him, firmly yet with a spark of pride, go. Don't waste a single second. Jun Kyung sprints inside and, just in time, takes his seat for the exam. Weeks later, a letter arrives. Jun Kyung opens it, hands trembling. As he reads, tears immediately spill down his face. His father comforts him, telling him it is all right if he failed. But these are not tears of defeat. They are tears of triumph. Jun Kyung has become the top student in Korea and has earned the scholarship to study in America. Overwhelmed, he tries to call Rahi, but she doesn't pick up. Seeing his son's joy, his father prepares a small feast to celebrate. That night, they lie side by side, sharing a long overdue conversation. His father's voice is soft, heavy with regret. He apologizes for not attending Jun Kyung's school events, explaining that he felt sorrow for Jun Kyung's mother, who could never witness her children growing up. He admits two regrets that have haunted him, focusing too much on work and failing to be there for Jun Kyung's mom during her childbirth which led to her death, and also missing Jun Kyung's school ceremony and entrusting his sister to attend on his behalf. And on that fateful day, Bo Kyung lost her life. He confesses the grief he carried, the fear of losing Jun Kyung too, and how he couldn't even look at his son for years. Then, with quiet strength, he tells Jun Kyung to stop blaming himself. None of it was your fault, he says. You must let go of the guilt. Jun Kyung, his voice steady despite lingering emotion, replies, then you must do the same. For the first time in years, the distance between father and son feels gone. Finally, the day comes for Jun Kyung to leave for America. Before leaving, everyone gathers for a group photo, a moment to capture the laughter, the struggles, and the countless memories that brought them here. On the train, he turns to his sister, his voice soft but firm. It's because of you that I made it this far. I'll go on my own now, he whispers, but you'll always be in my heart. At the airport, he tries once more to call Rae-hee, but the line goes unanswered. His flight is announced, and the weight of departure presses down. Just as he steps toward the departure's gate, a familiar voice calls his name. He turns and sees Rae-hee, and he rushes out of the gate, despite the guard trying to stop him. Instead of tears and dramatics, she scolds him. Why didn't you tell me you were leaving, she says. Then, with a smile that makes everything else fade, she warns him to write to her, to take care of himself, and not to flirt with other girls. And then, without hesitation, he plants a kiss on her, the beginning of their love story after years of misfortune and longing.